acceptance of open minutes, which I will move. Do I have a seconder for that? Jimmy Chen, I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That is carried. And now we come to the Christchurch Wastewater Treatment Plant Recovery Update. Thank you. Got Michael Croucher, Senior Program Manager. And Jane Davis.
Good morning, everyone. This morning, here to give you an update on progress out at the Christchurch Wastewater Treatment Plant. Presentation today will concentrate on 6 key areas, being our community response and community support, and social response. Where we're at with that. Our plant paint discoloration and air monitoring, update on that area. Activated sludge plant, how that is progressing. Also look at the health of the ponds and more importantly the recovery time for those ponds. We'll give you an update on our communication strategy at the moment. Also look at what reporting we've got coming up, and then we'll have a bit of a summary with the key takeaways from today's presentation. I'd also like to note, while today's presentation is just an update, at next council meeting we will be giving a full report on all proceedings that have been undertaken since the fire event, so there will be a report being put in shortly on that. So community wellbeing response. As was communicated last time, we're now going for a targeted local support using the Pegasus Health PCWs. Reports from PCWs to date over the last 2 weeks, they have had no one contact them requesting support. Over 2,500 households have received the support grant. As of up to, I think the 12th was when that was shut off. It is open for out of zone still up until the end of this month. And the Coastal Burwood, and Linwood Central Heathcote Community Boards have both received the $20,000 additional funding that Council agreed to on 3rd of August. Environmental monitoring. Paint discoloration, so staff have been out visiting households that have reported the incidences of paint discoloration. We're keeping a detailed register on all those that have contacted us. The advice at the moment is still to sit and wait until the hydrogen sulfide levels have dropped, because the expert advice we've received is that that paint staining will fade over time once the H2S levels drop. Air sampling. We still have our 6 permanent continuous air monitorers out reading, which are the results are published weekly on Council's website. Over the last week or so, H2S levels have gone up. That is mainly due to the flushing event that has occurred over the last month, I suppose. The effect of that did give a bit of reprieve from odour. But that odour has returned as that flushing event has worn off from the ponds. In particular, the sensor closest to the ponds, which is in Shortland Street there, is showing the highest level of H2S reading. As you can see, by the time it moves out to Rudd's Road and the likes, that odour does dissipate a lot. But that is not much relief to those residents that are living closest to the plant. So we're looking at putting out some targeted communication to those residents down Shortland Street to just reiterate the advice that we've received from Community and Public Health, and also getting the PCWs to target that area, making sure that people are aware that help is there. In terms of the interim operations, so more pointedly the activated sludge plant. Activated sludge plant is now fully mature, so the biology within that when it was activated back on the 27th July. It was going to take 3 or so weeks for that biology to build up to a level where it could sufficiently process the effluent coming into it. We're now at that point. The biology is healthy. And there's a image there on the right hand side showing 3 jars of liquid. The left hand side jar is the effluent that is coming in to the activated sludge plant. The middle jar shows a sample taken from the activated sludge plant, so there's obviously been some settling that's gone on there. You can see the dark mass at the bottom is the activated sludge. And then the right hand jar shows the effluent that is then being discharged out into the oxidation ponds now. So the activated sludge plant is doing its job. It is treating the effluent to a very high standard. By the end of this week, we will be processing 1.5 cumecs of effluent coming in. At the moment, we're processing 1 cumic, with the rest going straight into the ponds. So by the end of this week, once the pumps have been balanced out, we will be treating all the effluent coming through. So we're now into this, I guess, the stage where the ponds will be flushing themselves out with the better quality effluent coming into them over the next 3 or 4 weeks. So we're still on target to see a reduction of odour from the ponds mid-September. A couple of little images here that show the activated sludge plant and the clarifier. So the top left-hand image is one of the activated sludge basins. I've been told that nice, healthy brown-looking liquor is exactly what they want to see. It gets them very excited. That colour indicates that the activated sludge is looking healthy. That liquid is then passed through to the clarifiers, which is the bottom left-hand side image, where that activated sludge is allowed to settle to the bottom and is then scraped away and reprocessed back through the treatment process. And on the right-hand side, that's the outer ring of the clarifier that shows the clearer liquid, which is then eventually discharged into the oxidation ponds. So in terms of monitoring the pond health, samples are taken 3 times a week, where there are a number of indicators that are measured that will indicate what the pond health is. So ponds, as I was saying, the ponds were showing a minor degradation in health because they did get that boost from the heavy rain events that we'd had previously that flushed them out. So that was kind of expected, and that was the main reason why we didn't change our infographic showing the pond's health as being green when we knew they were going to revert back. But we'll be looking at moving those colours over the next few weeks as that improved effluent starts flushing out those ponds permanently. So as mentioned, we are on track for our mid-September reduction in odour. Communications, we continue to update at least twice a week the information on our website, and we also have our weekly e-newsletter that is released. As I mentioned before, we're looking at additional comms for Shortland Street residents who are currently experience the high levels of odour, H2S, coming from the ponds. Our continuous air monitoring information is also updated on a weekly basis so residents can see what the gas readings or H2S readings are in their areas. Our frequency of our meetings with our key partner agencies, they have been reduced to fortnightly meetings now as the amount of reportable information to them is reduced. The need for weekly meetings was agreed between all agencies to be unrequired weekly, so they've moved to fortnightly. We are still keeping up our weekly meetings though with our communications advisory group, given the fact that there is still odour out there, so those weekly meetings will continue until that odour is been reduced. So reporting coming up, as I said at the beginning, we'll be giving Council a full briefing on all actions that have been undertaken since the fire in November. That is at the next council meeting on 8th of September, and then we also have our insurance subcommittee meeting on 19th of September. So in summary, I guess the key takeaways from today is that the one-off support payments for the in-zone households finished on the 12th of August, but it is remaining open until the end of this month for all out of zones. The biology of the activated sludge plant is it's fully mature now, so we're really pleased with how that's progressed and the state it's in at the moment. On track for our mid-September target for odour reduction from the ponds. I can't iterate that enough. And staff have been visiting those residents that have registered that they have issues with paint discoloration. And also the additional comms looking for Shortland Street, just to make sure they're aware of previous health advice that's been given, and also that the PCWs will be targeting that area. So I do have a lot of the heads of the work streams here today, so happy to answer any questions.
I've noted that we've got a Three Waters update later on, so the technical wastewater treatment plant issues we can direct to Helen at that point, if that's good with everyone. Okay, so are there any questions for staff in relation to this report, Yanni?
Sure, what questions you want later and what ones you want now?
Or the ones that are actually would naturally flow from the later report should be dealt with at the time of the later report. So
Okay. So things like social support would be good to ask now.
yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay,
But
cool.
the discharge consents, for example,
Yeah.
that's later.
Right, okay. Just thank you, and thank you for the work that you're doing. I think people, I mean, I'm certainly struggling to understand. We had really good news apparently when it rained and it did a big flush, but in your slide you've said that there was minor pond health deterioration post the heavy rain, and so that would suggest it made it worse. So I'm just trying to kind of align with the good news that we got a lot of water through and a big flush, but now we've actually got deteriorating health.
Yeah, I guess from the beginning we've been clear that the activated sludge plant was going to take that between 3 to 6 weeks to mature. So
Right.
it is matured now. So over that maturing period, the quality of the wastewater going into the ponds wasn't ideal, not as good as it is now.
Right.
So with that rain event, you had highly oxygenated water that flushed through. So I think the plant normally deals with about 2 cubics of effluent coming in. During those rain events, it got up to about 8.6 cubics. So you had a whole lot of water that was highly oxygenated coming in, which helped the ponds. As that has moved through, and the lower quality effluent is now replacing it, it's reverted back to what it was. So it's not getting any worse. So that's why we didn't change the colour of our infographic saying, hey, the ponds are looking healthy, because we know that was nothing to do with our process we've put in place.
Yeah.
So we're in that stage now over the next 3 to 4 weeks that we will be flushing out the ponds with good quality effluent, and that will continue. So now we can start looking at changing the, I guess, the infographic moving forward to moving to the orange and then eventually to green.
Right. One of the questions that's come up at the community group, which I've also raised as well, is it's really good. You've given us the 3 weekly test. The 3 times a week testing of the oxygen, VOT, and the TSS and the pH. But are you able to show sort of what those measurements are and how we're tracking on those measurements, whether it's for each pond or whether it's sort of globally? But I think people are just wanting to kind of be able to visually kind of understand how things are either improving or declining.
Yep. I'll let the expert answer this one.
Yeah.
Answer this one.
Look, can we,
sorry, Adam,
it might be easier to leave that to the technical report, is it? Or
Okay. If it's,
Helen,
I can answer it very, very quickly. So
Okay.
there's a vast range of parameters across the ponds. The 4 there are sort of like the 4 key ones that provide an indicator, but there's other ones associated such as flows, sludge levels, and other biology recoveries in there. So it's just 4 indicators, to which we've just picked 2 to be sort of like the high level overview of those. So we can provide it, but it's an awful lot of information other than we're tracking it, and then it's our consultant and our staff that make decisions on
Yeah.
the health of the ponds, which then guide the communication team as to change it.
sure. Sorry, I understand it's complex. I just think people really appreciate like the trickling filters, seeing the percentage decline, you know, like from 100% as it went down was really useful for people to see the measure progress. I think given that we've got really bad odours again, having something that can sort of highlight people what the the changes are would be useful. But okay, just the other question, several questions I had. One was so I am getting feedback around concern around damage to cars and to metal. So is there a work program underway to assess that type of damage, and or if not, do we need a resolution that could help?
No, you don't need a resolution. As we talked about with the Communications Advisory Group the other night, we have asked one of the members who is, has got some contacts around the country on the classic cars, around the chrome. He's going to do some research himself and come back to us, and we're also signalled that we will be doing some more work ourselves. So we don't need a resolution. We've already agreed that with the advisory group.
Message is if people have concern around damage to metal, they should get in touch and register that with us?
Not at this point, because we are already aware of the potential issue. Right. We have had some previous advice to suggest that there isn't a relationship, but we're just going to go back and retest that. So we don't need more people to tell us. We're going to do that research first.
Okay. And I just wanted to check, obviously you've got the insurance subcommittee meeting and a full report back, but we've never really sort of, I mean, we haven't really had an update at the people that aren't on the insurance subcommittee over kind of what's going on. Do we know when we'll be in a position, because it's a question that the community asks repeatedly, what caused the fire, who's liable, who's responsible, and how is our insurance covering things like air purifiers or other things that have come up in terms of the social response. So are you able just to give a kind of sense of when we'll know what happened in terms of causing the fire and who's responsible? It's just that some people have seen the letter that was released from the Disputes Tribunal where it said there was no fault of the council, and then they are anticipating that there is some information that we have around who actually was responsible. So
just in terms of what we can report to you publicly, we will be reporting at the next meeting. So as Michael said, we'll do a full report which will include some reference to insurance. There will be some matters that we won't be able to report at that meeting, but we are doing full reports to the insurance subcommittee. In terms of the timing of the release of any information about the cause of the fire, we're not in a position at this stage to do that. The various investigations haven't been completed, but as soon as they are, we will be releasing that information.
Right, but we don't have any sort of time frame for that?
I would need to check that.
Okay, thank you. And I guess the final question was, I know in the last meeting we were going to get advice on the scope and timetable to commission external independent review. Do we have any advice, or when are we going to see that advice, and can we get an understanding of the process around that review occurring? I'm just, I guess, concerned that the longer we leave doing the review, the harder it is to capture the things that happened because of the time.
Councillor Johansson, I have asked the Head of Risk and Audit with our legal people to scope that out. We will be bringing that back to members, so you are able to input into that scope. Yeah. As soon as it's ready, we will bring that to you. And I expect it will be imminent.
Right, great. Thank you.
Celeste.
With the independent review, will the community advisory group be involved in that in any respect in terms of before it comes back to council?
In the scope or in the
just in terms of the scope and who might be included, and because
looking to Dawn, who's responsible for that. I mean, I don't think that would hurt actually just passing it past the advisory group.
As long as members are happy with that.
Absolutely.
Great. And in regards to targeting support on Shortland Street, I might have missed it, but how will that be delivered? Was that through leaflets or?
Yeah. So I guess I should expand on that. So when I'm saying Shortland Street, we've got our 6 permanent gas monitors, and then I think I've mentioned previously we've got 2 roving monitors. So in that easterly wind is when Shortland Street is really getting hammered more. So when those easterly winds are blowing, we're going to send out 2 of those roving units, and we're kind of going to map out a bit of an area of like who's most affected, because as you can see, by the time it gets to Rudd's Road, it has decreased quite a bit. It's still noticeable, but it's not at those levels where it's causing eye irritation, sore throats, that kind of thing. So once we've determined the area, then yes, we'll be looking at doing, we're looking at the moment at letter drop, and certainly going back to community and public health, who will then instruct the PCWs to concentrate on that area.
Great. Do you know how long that process will take, roughly?
Yeah, it's going to depend on the weather a lot. We shot out there yesterday to actually start that process, but the wind direction had changed and the odours were very low, so there wasn't much point in doing it. So once we've got those easterly winds, we can start that. It shouldn't take long to do, maybe a day or two to map out that area, and then we can, so in terms of letter drop, depending on the size of the area, will determine how long that letter drop will take, but we're not anticipating the area to be very large.
And final question, have you looked at communicating through some of the organisations that operate in the areas around the oxidation ponds? The hub would be an organisation just to leave leaflets and other things and sort of keep them abreast of some of this information, because when you get the spikes, people need that information pretty quickly and they sort of want to know they might not go on the website or Facebook and other things.
Yeah, well, I guess in terms of Facebook and that, we have been leveraging off some of the community groups with their own Facebook pages, posting our information on theirs. So in terms of using some of those hubs, that's something we can look at, yes.
I'll just jump in there. Sorry, Simon Macker, Senior Communications Advisor. We do, with all our e-newsletters that we put out every week, we actually create a physical copy as well, and we have those available at the hubs. And as well as the leaflets and stuff, we've had extra copies printed, and they're at the hubs and at the libraries and that sort of thing, so people have access to those.
I'm aware there's some local newsletters as well, which might be worth looking at, such as the South Shore Beacon, which would be good to put an update through, just as, I guess, those physical avenues as well, where people can talk in person, is quite useful. Thank you.
Sure, I can look into that.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. All right, no further questions? All right. So the resolution that we have in front of us has disappeared. So I'll just bring it up. Sorry, apologies. I'm assuming it's just to receive the report. Where is what's it called? Can't see the resolution. Right. There's no resolution. No. So we'll just move on to the next item. Okay, thank you.